stage, so I've sanded it, I've sealed it. You don't have to, but I like to. It just gives me, I think, a more level base. So what we're going to do now, just so it really doesn't take much of this. This is the Yorkshire grit. It's basically a wax carrier with an abrasive in it, but it works really, really well. Just rub it into the surface more, and I've got some more bits of paper towel ready. One is to take off and one is to polish. So that's fine. Switch this on fast. I'm going to use that, the one I put it on with, to take off that there. Turn it over. Use a clean piece. If you don't, all you're going to do is just spread it about the surface. So you can see there's a nice sheen coming up on this anyway. Keep using your paper towel until you see it's nice and clean. So that is a silky smooth finish just in its own right. So now a little bit of the here's a clean one, the Hampshire sheen. Now this has microcrystalline waxes in it, carnauba wax, and it doesn't finger mark. Again, don't use a great deal. Get it on there, work that in a circular fashion. Be quite vigilant. There's an area there, dark area. I'm going to start there and finish there. So I make sure that I cover every little bit. There's a bit there. Just squish that in. Okay. Back to the start. Same thing. Switch it on fast. Take off the excess. And then use a clean bit of paper towel. You can see till that gets clean, and you know you've got everything off. One more. That speed is about 2,300. Look at that, silky smooth. Now then, just while we're on this side, you can see the chatoyancy in the grain, in the surface of the wood, caused by that grain. Absolutely gorgeous. I've worked out and figured out that when you texture that, you still see that figure even though it's textured. It looks super cool, especially with the colouring. So I'm going to turn it around, prep it, put it in the chuck. I've got it on a screw chuck at the moment. If you're going to leave the foot on, slightly undercut it, make sure that it'll sit properly. On something like this, it's an art piece, I would take the foot off, have a complete curve there so when people pick it up, they can feel a gorgeous curve without the interruption of that foot. It's not meant to do anything. So that, how a piece feels, is just as important as how it looks. Excellent. So join me in a minute or two and I'll set up. We're going to use the Merlin 2 with the little chainsaw cutter to texture it. Okay, so using this tool, little grinder with the chainsaw cutter as a texturing tool. I've got the speed around about 300. Okay, if you were 250, 350, that'll be okay. A lot of this depends on the speed of the lathe. It wants to be a slower speed. I tend to turn this on to the faster speed so it cuts as cleanly as possible. You do not want to have this horizontal like that, because what happens is this tooth cuts and then it kicks off the back of the tooth. The tooth is quite long. It's kind of like the heel rubbing if you're using a gouge. So you want the tool, you want the cutter at about 45 degrees, and we're going to traverse over at a slow speed like that so we get a much even cut. Now then, that surface as well, try and make sure that surface is flat. If there's high and low spots, it's going to cut away more. That might not be detrimental, you'll see in a minute. And you can rework this as many times as you want. So, I've preset the speed, we're just going to switch this on. Turn it on to the fastest speed. There we go. 45 degrees, get your arms into your body, right foot forward, left foot back. You've got more control. and just lightly, just very lightly at first. You can always put more pressure on if you need to. Let's just stop that and have a look. There we go. We've got a really nice spiraled texture there. That cutter is razor sharp. I sharpened it with the diamond and it's cutting beautifully. Really, really nice. So what we're going to do now is get a handful of shavings. So just, excuse me, switch it on fast. And just burnish that surface before we start doing some colouring. What that's going to do is it's going to take off those little fibrous bits. There you go, break them off. One other thing, when you get to this edge, don't come over the edge like that, come away from the edge. If you go over the edge, you will really chew that edge up. There's something we can do to it if we need to, however, try and avoid that. So, we're going to start doing the colouring now.